Thank you, Robot. Well, welcome everybody. It's our third in person since the pandemic. I'm very excited. I'm getting to keep this going. Pretty sure y'all know me, but if there's anyone that doesn't, I'm Jenna, and I'm the communications director for Fremont for Everyone. And we are very excited for tonight. We have a special guest, Leanne, over here with US Properties Fund. She's going to be giving us a presentation on the Fremont Centerville Apartments. That's going to be projected on Fremont and Peralta. So we're very much looking forward to that and all the other stuff as well. And might as well get started. Yep. Leanne, come on up.
I wanted to introduce you.
Oh, right. My bad. David,
Thank you.
please. David, come on up.
Thank
Introduce
you.
Leanne. You got it.
You did a yeoman's job, but yes, I'm
Yes.
very honored to introduce Leanne. And Leanne, although she works as the Director of Acquisitions for USA Property Fund, has Fremont roots. She went to Glenmore, Centerville, and Washington High School, which is my alma mater, but works in Sacramento, has come full circle, coming back down to work as the lead person as what is known as the Director of Acquisitions, which is about acquiring property. And she will talk about the Fremont, the Centerville Station Apartments project in a minute. But that site had a lot of history, which if this project goes through is going to really transform the area. You may have recalled several years ago that Silicon Sage had an entitled project that was right next to Holy Spirit on Peralta, and have some handouts. And Silicon Sage had not taken full advantage of the ACE train and the transit and had a lot of market rate townhomes there. And the reason for it was that they were trying to pencil out their project to make money and not necessarily serve all the needs of the community. So they went into bankruptcy, and unfortunately the owner of one of the principals of Silicon Sage actually is under criminal prosecution for engaging in a horrible investor Ponzi scheme. So that is all a horrible thing. And so you had this site where they had gotten as far as raising all of the old round table peaks and all of the buildings on Fremont Boulevard. You just had this, what is it, 4.16 acres. I think that's the site that's out there right now. Nothing happening. So Leanne's group went into the bankruptcy court and bought the property from the receiver, and they're moving forward with the city of Fremont. And I want to introduce Leanne to come up here and talk about this wonderful project.
Thank you, everyone. So I wanted to first do a little bit of intro about me and my company, and then we could go a little bit into details about the project and what I need from. Okay. So this is our presentation. My name is Leanne Thomas. I'm Director of Acquisitions from the USA Properties Fund. We are based in Sacramento and primarily are affordable housing, multifamily rental developers, owner operators, general contractor. So, you know, we are here today to talk about this site, this proposed development, and how we can bring it to fruition together as a group, because it's a struggle to do it all by yourself. So it takes a team. So a little bit about myself, as Dave said, born and raised here, went to school here, and also went to college and tried to come back and buy a house.
Oh, man.
But let me tell you how unsuccessful I was with that. Years of looking, and then my rent kept going up, and I couldn't save any money to buy a house. And then when I would make an offer on a house, it was contingent on a loan, and I was being beat out by all cash offers. So it was a struggle. And so finally it was like, okay, well, maybe I need to move north, maybe I need to move south, maybe I need to move northeast, you know. And I had some friends in the Sacramento area that said, just come look at what you get for the money. And I went and I looked, and I was like, yep, sold. And, you know, it wasn't my first choice, and I would rather be closer to my kids' grandparents, my parents, and, my family, and my brother too. We both grew up here. He moved to Arizona, tried to buy a house, didn't like Arizona, came back, bought a house in Oakley to find some affordability. You know, so he's still an hour and a half from my parents. I'm 2.5 hours from my parents, and we're trying to keep our family together, you know, so, it's a real struggle. So, we'll go more into the site, but this particular site where we went to roundtables after soccer and softball practice and basketball practice, and we went to that Sizzlers for graduations, like it means a lot, you know, so. It hits a little bit different for me. All right, so about USA, the company I work for. So I've been working in affordable housing for about a decade. USA picked me up in January as their director of acquisitions. They heard about some of my work and on the news, and they solicited me for the role. So, you know, really great alignment of skills and company. So, USA has been around for 43 years. They have 90 properties under management. They've built over 16,000 apartment units. Most of those are affordable. Most of it's in the state of California. It was a family-run business that started in SoCal. Affordability was not working for them there. They moved the office to Roseville so that they could have affordability for their employees. And so it's really great. I feel mission aligned with them. So, they are a company that values your work-life balance, which is really good. So, some of the key ownership and executive staff. So go back.
Sorry.
So, right now, we're mostly in California. We're also in Nevada, Reno area, and we're under construction on some units in Portland. And so we're kind of branching out to wherever there's a high need of affordable housing where we work partner with a local jurisdiction. We currently have 90 multifamily communities, and we're vertically integrated. So we have our own general contractor, we have our own property management team. So we're able to get real-time data and numbers from the team. And we also have our own in-house development team and architectural engineering team. So if I see a site, I have a guy in-house I can walk down to, and he can show me what we can build on it. Construction team tells me how much it'll cost, and property management tells me how much it'll cost to operate. So the efficiencies of knowing what we can build and how to do it without wild variances popping up is really, really key in our business. And so it's really nice to have that. And we typically hold our assets that we build for the duration. We typically do not sell unless maybe they're market rate. So, you know, for the workforce and affordable housing, we're in it for the long haul. So our current pipeline, we've got 2,500 units over the last 5 years. We have about 3,200 units in the pipeline of various stages of development and construction. Various stages of development could be like this Fremont site, super early. Others, we are getting our tax credit award from the state, and we're beginning construction in the next few months. So all of these deliveries will be coming online, and we're very busy, so it's been really great. Some of our executive team from the top left, Jeff Brown, so his father started the company, he's since taken it over. Steve Gall, executive vice president, talking about Aaron Bobrowski is vice president of capital markets. He kind of does all the financing for the deals. Johnny, our CFO, April Atkinson is our property management president, and Tony runs our construction department. They all have a vested interest in the company and our shareholders, so they all agree on all the developments we work on together. This is key staff, so myself, top left. Santiago, he helps in the construction team, and Victoria is our vice president of property management in NorCal. Milo is our vice president of development. He helps get things entitled and gets them permitted. Jetton also works in acquisitions with me, and Sean Reynolds is our in-house architect. So he helps put the plans together for submittal to the permitting department and design. Some of our Bay Area properties, this is kind of a little map that Bianca put together for us. So here's the site that we're looking at. We have a site in Newark called Newark Station Seniors. We have another senior project in Union City. We have a family project in San Jose and in Morgan Hill. We're under construction in Santa Clara. And we also have a lot of deals in North Bay, Concord, Richmond, and
Oh, wow.
so haven't done anything specifically in Fremont. It's kind of a hard neighborhood to break into. And so we're excited to put our little mark on it. If we want to talk a little bit about what Newark Station Seniors looks like, this was a partnership with a home builder. So they usually, when you build a certain amount of homes, you have to build so many affordable units, and so we built that for them. This is 75 units. It was built in 2019. It was their first 100% affordable project in 20 years. Wow. I'm super proud of it, and you know, it leased up really quickly. But one thing to kind of note and think about a little bit is the senior projects. It's 55, and I feel like at one time that meant like granny, you know, but it's not anymore. And it's like could be really active adults who are just struggling to pay rent. So I feel like sometimes when you say senior property, you think of, you know, someone who might be in their 80s and more frail, but that's not really what happens. So we have a really robust resident services program. They do yoga, they do wellness classes, they you know, teach them how to use the computer and, you know, fix their phones for them and stuff like that too. So a little bit more modern thinking of what a 55+ senior would be for this unit. The next one is Mayfair Court. This is a family project in between downtown and Alamo Bay. This is built in 2013. It's 93 units. The city of San Jose and the state both subsidized the project through low interest rate loans. So it was really a true partnership of trying to get these units built. And, you know, kind of signifies the struggle of building in the Bay Area is that you need the city to help, you need the state to help, you need the developer with the skills. So this is really cool project. Terracina at Santa Rosa, TOD. It's near the Smart Train Station on West College Avenue. It was built in 2008, but it was 99 units, and it was funded with Santa Rosa Redevelopment Fund. So they actually wrote a glowing letter for us, and they were like, can you build more? Like, we love your project. So we put that in our application to the city, and we're like, look, Santa Rosa loves us. So, you know, this is a really great project to showcase that's TOD similar to Centerville Station. So going into Fremont Centerville Station, kind of some backstory here is I have been eyeballing this site for years, like before Silicon Sage got into it, because we all heard about it, we all wanted, but we couldn't make it pencil. And so you watch the Silicon Sage ownership group come in, you know, present these big, beautiful plans, and, you know, then they tear down the fire station, they tear down the restaurants and the shopping, and then they went bankrupt and went dark overnight. And if you don't know what happened, during COVID, all the investors got really scared right around March 2020. They called the loan that they had given to their developments, and the owner was siphoning money from one development to another, like a Ponzi scheme.
Postcards.
Yeah, so they all got called, everything went bankrupt. So the site was done for, and then you have bankruptcy court, and you have things that take legally years. So finally, it came out of bankruptcy court through receivership, and we made an offer. And so, we actually have a really amazing seller. Getting affordable housing built requires a very flexible seller who understands that I need to go beg for money here. I need to beg the community to let me build this. I need to get the city on board. It's not what they had envisioned. This was gonna be townhomes with 26,000 square feet of retail, and what I'm proposing is vastly different. So, you know, it's not always easy, so you need a seller that says, okay, I understand you can't buy the land in 10 days. What do you need and how can we get there? And they did, so they agreed to the terms that work for both parties. And we're super excited for that, so, this was previously planned for 165 units total over 4.6 acres. What I'm proposing is 312. And it'll be in 2 phases. It's easier to finance through the state, so this program is meant to be competitive for the money that's available from the state and from the city of Fremont. If you get too big and you start asking for too much, you kind of zero yourself out of certain ways to get it built fast. So the delay between the 2 phases is 6 months. So it's like not really, but it'll have clear parcel lines, it'll have different ownerships. As far as the LP, the USA will still be the main developer, but we have a nonprofit partner and we have an equity partner, and they may be different between the two. And I can talk a little bit more how we finance these, but so the plan is to do a 5-story at-grade product. Mostly 1 bedrooms and some 2 and 3. And they'll have ground floor retail and ground floor lobby, clubhouse, amenity, fitness to like activate Fremont Boulevard. And also over here on Peralta. So Peralta will have, I think it's like 1,400 square feet of retail, and that'll be part of phase 2. And then this retail space here will all be double volume. So that means kind of like this, like a 2-story feel when you walk in. So the units will be 5 stories, but the retail space takes 2 stories. And so it's all surface park, and this was done because it's super cost efficient. So building in the Bay Area, land prices, labor prices, really expensive. So this is a cost efficient way to get the units built. And we wanted to be cognizant that yes, the Amtrak station's right here, and so is Ace Train, and the buses run right here to the BART, but people still have cars. So, you know, we don't want to put our blinders on, like, we know that people have cars. So the design for mostly 1 bedrooms was part of that, and the amount of surface parking we're providing is almost 1-to-1. It's 0.85 to 1. So almost every unit will have a curb installed. And then we're gonna try and encourage people to, you know, get rid of their car, because we're gonna invite, by permissible by law, local employees and local residences to be the first tenants to move in. So if you can walk to work or take a bus down to City Hall, or, you know, whatever, to reduce the impact of cars. So that was kind of the thought behind that style. So there'll be 265 parking spaces, which is pretty generous, because by law, when you're this close to a train, you have to provide 0. So providing 265 makes it manageable. So basically right here is kind of like a main entry, and so this will be the retail parking, and then it kind of gate off into the community. But yeah, that number does include the retail parking. And they'll probably have some initial stalls over here. So with the retail space, I know that's everyone's hot topic because there was so much retail demolished there. In the financial model that I put together for our investors and lenders, I did not attribute any rent to the retail space. So we're building it, but it doesn't mean I won't charge rent. It just means that I'm not anticipating income. So we could offer it to below market users. We can offer it to people who just want to pay the, common area charges like sewer, water, electrical, because they want to host an event space, or, or maybe Starbucks wants to come in. Who knows? I don't know what the demand is. And I'm also trying to project for 2027 retail market. It's a little risky to say, yeah, I'm for sure going to collect $1,000 a month. I don't know. So I want to leave it open. I want the community to put feedback. Do we have some startup, entrepreneurs who need space that they can't afford to do in downtown Fremont, like $4 a square foot rent? So just wanting to keep it a blank vanilla shell. So I have no plans for the retail space. I did talk to Holy Spirit. They're interested in using some of the space to free up classrooms because they have a lot of office space. They have some thrift shop stuff with St. Vincent de Paul that they could put here and free up that space on site. They also have a hot meal service that they would like. So we're keeping all conversations open, and they love the fact that we're doing a mission aligned. So I don't know what it'll be, but I'm not anticipating like Dunkin' Donuts and Jersey Mike's and these high-end franchises to come into workforce housing development. But if they wanted to, we could have those facilities. So it is open. As for the rent levels and the mixes, so the rents will range between $800 and $2,200 for a 1-bedroom, and that's kind of all dependent on income. But we wanted to allow people from various income levels to move here. It's not a one particular group. So you can make between 30% of the area median income all the way up to 80 and rent a unit here. And I'll go into those figures a little bit more in detail, but it has a wide range, and that's why we also put a few stacks of 3 bedrooms. Not a ton because of parking, and it's kind of urban, so it's not great for little kids, but we know that they exist and we want to house them. So there's some of those, and there's some 2 bedrooms, but mostly all 1 bedroom. And then as for the design, we have kind of some outdoor space program, but the goal here was to have impact on affordable housing. So I was trying to get as many units as we can that we can park. But there will be an outdoor space in between this building here and in between the walking paths of these buildings. But this is what's called a massing. It's just kind of some white blocks. It's not super sexy or attractive yet, but this kind of gives us an idea of scale. So these are kind of the 2-story retail spaces are here, and the units above them. And then as we go through design, we can push and pull which walls will pop out, not give it like a concrete block wall. Kind of what it feels like, but this is what development looks like in the really early stages. So we're on our way. We have our architects on it. We've only been in contact with the seller for a few years, so we've made a lot of progress. And then so some of our design inspiration is this urban modern feel, but trying to keep cost efficient. So there's a blend between the two. Using different colors helps break up mass walls like that, and making it feel like a pedestrian level, and also can help do that and creating like a public-private. But I really think the retail space and the lobby will activate it and make it feel like a storefront and bring light and activity to it. So it's not like these units here that are just on the ground floor. I think it'll be more vibrant and more atmosphere. So this is just kind of an inspiration. Yeah, nothing set in stone. We haven't presented any design whatsoever. We submitted what's called a pre-app to the city and said, you know, this is kind of what we're thinking. Are we on the right track? Are we not? Do you like it? And then they come back and they say, yeah, we like it, but maybe we want a giant gray building here. And they're like, okay, so you get that feedback and you work with your design team and you submit something more formal that you think will get approved. So that is in the process. We should hear back from the city in about 2 weeks. And they'll say, hey, we like this, we should try this, do this. And then we kick off our design team to submit a full entitlement application that goes in on the record. So that's how it works. So any feedback on design would be super helpful because we're just white boxes right now. I also wanted to provide a quick map of amenities. Sometimes this pops up as a key point when you're a transit-oriented site, and especially when you don't provide a ton of parking, is what's nearby. So you have schools nearby, obviously. You've got the high school and the junior high, and we got Dusterberry Park that just, you know, opened up. It's super cool. It's like a 7-minute walk from the site, so really easy for families to get to. We have the train station here, and we have Lucky down just kind of outside of 1 mile radius, but then we have Whole Foods and the hub. So I still think it's a really highly amenitized site. I don't think that you're going somewhere where you can go walk to dinner. How many times have we gone to El Patio across the street as well? Yeah, so map with that. Okay, so I want to go into financing. How do we fund affordable housing? What does it mean? So this is how much it costs to build phase 1, $80 million. It costs $500,000 per apartment to build affordable housing. So super high level, it's gonna get complicated, but these are the people I need to beg money from. This is why I need it. Okay, so you have your land costs, your construction costs, your contractor fees, your financing costs with interest rates at 7% right now. You have transaction costs to go get the bonds and the money for the state, and then you have our developer fee, which is mostly deferred. We're taking very little development. So how the program works is that each of these people contribute to getting the units built. And once all those people contribute, you can apply to the state. The state has what they call low-income housing tax credit program. And people like Verizon, Google, Facebook, when they have their taxes done every year and they owe, you know, $1 million, then they can buy tax credits to fund our project at like 90 cents on the dollar or something like that, 95 cents on the dollar. So instead of paying $1 million in taxes, they pay us 900,000 and they get to write off on the bill. So that's the tax credit equity program at a very simple level. Yeah, so those are the investors. Sometimes it's an individual company, but you know, our tax credit equity on this one phase is almost 30 million. So to have a company have a $30 million tax bill is few. So usually they go together in a pool. So earlier I was talking about the different equity investors in between 2 phases is because there might be some investors in a pool of money for phase 1 that are different than the pool of money for phase 2. And then you have your permanent loan. And so this is our deferred developer fee. So any money that we are making on the project, we defer and pay into the project to get it built. And it usually pays out over 15 years. So the fees that a developer would typically make to build something, they would pocket as soon as they started construction. We don't, we put them back in and we wait till the residents pay their rent, we pay all our bills, and we slowly pay ourselves out over time. So that's what this is. City of Fremont. So City of Fremont issued a notice of funding for $30 million. If you build affordable housing to people making 80% of the area median income or less. So we qualified for that. So we applied for the phase one, we applied for 13 million of their funds. It's a 3% loan that's paid back through the cash flows over time. So we get paid first as our developer fee. After we're paid, we start paying them back. And that loan agreement is very common in affordable housing because otherwise we would be short and we wouldn't get the units built. There's very few places that offer this type of funding program that doesn't have different strings attached. Like you must have 50% homeless units, or you must be, you know, providing new bike lanes and new transit oriented features. They come with strings attached, which make it more expensive. Most notably prevailing wages. So to use union labor increased this construction cost 35%, which increased my gap 35%. So, you know, that's the whole reason behind the cost efficiency and the uniqueness of the city of Fremont's notice of funding program. Doesn't trigger prevailing wages, and you can pay back with cash flows from the residents. Really, really awesome. Apple and Alameda County also have something similar. And so we put in about a $2.5 million subsidy from them. There's multiple places this can get filled. We also have private investors who invest in affordable housing that would take a below market rate loan to get these units filled. So not really concerned about this bottom half of funds here. Solar credits is part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And so that's just typical tax credit equity. So then on phase two, it's very similar. The costs are a little bit more as a whole because there's more units. But the funding amount goes down because we have more units. We're able to get better cost efficiency. So we put in a total request to the city of $25 million 2 weeks ago. And so it's a big ask. So we're waiting to hear back on that, but this is kind of the capital stack and how you build affordable housing. The unit mix, so this is a little bit more detail about the rent. So phase one and phase two are very similar because the rents are set by the county. So the rents don't change, but what does change is the mix in between different AMI levels. So in a 1 bedroom, you have 30% AMI, 50% AMI, 60, 70, 80. And so each income bracket will have some, in this particular case, I can't see, but there's a mix in there. And the rents range from $800 to $2,200, depending on the income. And then if you're in a 3 bedroom, then your rents will range from $1,100 to $3,000. So really affordable given what
That's
a 1
amazing.
bedroom rent for down the street at Artist Walk is going for $3,500. So you get a 3 bedroom here if you're going to be qualified. So we also will have on-site management. So phase one will have 1 employee unit, and then phase two will have 2. 3 total on site. So usually it'll be like a property manager, 2 property managers and a maintenance tech. And that way, if you ever need anything, they're on site, they can go. And so those are key to have at our affordable housing development. So we're really proud to be able to offer 3 units to them free of charge. Next is the income limit. So how do we calculate your rent? How do you qualify? So the state puts out this fun little chart, comes out every April. And depending on how many people are in your household. So are you a 1-person household, 2, 3, 4, 5? depends on how much money you can make. So if you're a single mom with 3 kids, you could be making up to 118,000 in qualified home. If you're married with 2 kids, same. If you're single, living by yourself, you can make up to 82,000 to qualify here. So, and if your rents go down depending on your income level. So your rent is 30% of your income as determined by HUD. HUD thinks that's an appropriate amount for housing. So that is kind of the breakup of the chart. So if it's you and your mom and 2 kids, you know, then you're in the 4% category. And then you only pay your rent on 30% of your income on a monthly basis. So that's how we drive our rents. That's how we drive what is achievable. But you know, larger families, you start getting into the 220,000 mark to live here. We're not crazy. So low income and the type of housing that we're shooting for, it sometimes doesn't even sit right when I talk about what affordable housing is and the incomes you have to live here, because then it kind of sets in place that, wow, 120,000 low income. But honestly, it is. How can you rent at the artist walk for $3,500 a month for the family? That's another really cool feature that we have is our nonprofit partner Life Steps. So in this design, we created them a full-time office, and they will be there for all the resident services. Do you need help working on the computer, putting a resume together, getting transit passes, qualifying for Section 8 vouchers, looking for food assistance, you know, do you want exercise classes? They have after school classes for kids. They provide a ton of stuff. They actually were just recognized for their literacy. But it offers kids something to do after school. So that's always a unique feature. But they have employment counseling and financial programs. They also are the key driver between what they call brown bags. So they'll work with the Tri-City Food Bank and bring groceries, fresh groceries to our properties. And we have a commercial refrigerator. And so all the fresh food we can store. And so they're going to work in partnership with them, and you know, they kind of coordinate that access. But having fresh food access in our affordable housing projects is like very tricky. Usually people offer canned goods and dry goods, but the fresh food needs to be refrigerated before people get home. And so that's why we have the commercial refrigerators on site and Life Steps to coordinate fresh brown bags.
Are you also partnering with the Fremont Resource Center University?
Currently, I have not reached out to them, but definitely open to having those discussions. As of right now, I've only talked to the food bank across the street, and they were very interested in.
They're good too, but yeah, because the Fremont Resource Center is a whole umbrella of different services, a lot of which would be aligned with this.
Perfect. Yeah, I would love an introduction. And so let's talk about timeline a little bit, and the most being this critical make it or break it Fremont funding. So in order for us to get these units built, we need a commitment from the city, and it could be just for phase 1, it could be for both phase 1 and phase 2, but we can't move forward with building these without it. And so we are waiting for an interview that should take place in the next 2 to 4 weeks, and we'll tell them more about what we proposed. And they're going to make a recommendation. Lucia Hughes from the city of Fremont will be she's the housing director. She'll be making a recommendation to city council. And we anticipate that this going to city council vote in January. So any support that we can get from people in Fremont, city of Fremont, I want these units. This is a ton of units by transit. Like, you need to fund this thing, because Leanne's here, she wants it built, and just more than me saying I want it built, I need the city of Fremont to come around and help me get this funded. So that's kind of the ask. If they come back and they say, we'll fund both, we're off to the races. We're applying at the next tax credit round that we're available for, which will probably be like late summer or fall of next year, because we gotta do a lot of architectural and engineering, but we'll go in. I've scored this site for competitiveness and we're a shoo-in. We have all the right features. We're in where the state has designated this parcel as high resource. So they want it there. And they also designated it as a difficult development area. So they gave us 30% extra money if we could figure out how to get it built. And so those two things make us really competitive. And the 5-story walk up or 5-story at grade product with surface parking makes us cost efficient. And the tiebreaker is cost per unit. So we are very confident that this will fund almost instantly during our application. So as far as speed and what we're looking at, if we get our award in the fall of next year, we'll be breaking ground in June 2025, doors opening January 2027. So if phase 1 will be 150 units, phase 2 will be 162, and if we can get them both funded back to back 6 months phase apart, the applications are super attractive at the state level. And I don't know if you've seen some of the other affordable housing proposals out there, but a lot of them have what they call a concrete podium. When you go into a parking garage and you drive up to your parking stall, you take an elevator to your unit. That same parking garage on our site would cost us $30 million per podium. So when you're trying to be efficient and using resources, you know, a podium style construction is tricky. And did I put a slide in here for the NOFA result? Okay, so yesterday Lucia sent this out. This is our competition. And so not a ton of information on them right now, but this one on Fremont Boulevard by Community Development Partners, they're active in Fremont now. Danco is proposing 66 units across from the Safeway here in Irvington of condos for sale, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos for low income. So they need $10 million for those condos. So if we do a price per unit, very expensive subsidy request. Eden is proposing to do a affordable housing project at the Residence Inn by Countryway. I don't know anything about that. And this Warm Springs Boulevard, I believe this was a home builder who had a requirement to build affordable housing. So I'm kind of surprised if that's the case, that the home builders affordable developer is asking for 12 million. If it is inclusionary, and they should be building it anyway. But you know, in these times, it's hard to get any affordable housing built, so I can see where maybe they struggle with that money. But on a price per unit, from what I can tell, is we're the most competitive. The city gets the best bang for their buck. They get 312 units at about a cost of $80,000 per unit, and it's not a grant; it's a loan. It'll be paid back. But some of these others will cost 100,000 a unit, 150,000 a unit, 200,000 a unit. So that I believe will make us really competitive is that we get way more units for the least amount of subsidy. So yeah, interviews will be in a couple weeks, and so it's kind of from now till January when that city council happens to make it known. So if you know anybody, or can offer a quick little email to your council person and just say, you know, I want to see this and I love it, or you know, I love it, but I would like to see this. That's also helpful to me, especially in this early stages, right? Getting feedback. So that's why I'm here. I wanted to show you where I'm at, how we get these built, what I need from you guys and your friends and family. And so any and all comments and suggestions are well received. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, please, somebody.
We get some water.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was interested in the rent. I live in a place that's rent control, and my rent's gone up. $250. With rent control. So
Really?
if people moving in, you know, will the rent go up every year?
Yeah, but it's not that it has to go up, it's that it's set by the county. So, the HUD issues a CPI increase every. So this last year, it was capped at 4.62, even though inflation was higher than that. And, so we anticipate that same 5.62 will go up this next year because it was capped last year. But there were some years where they didn't go up at all. The year before last, Santa Clara County rents didn't go up at all. They're just flat. So, I can't say that they'll go up every year, but they do readjust, and I haven't seen them go down. But, they vary and they have a limit. So the maximum limit is 12%. And that could be a lot. So it just kind of depends, but, I've only seen that happen once in the last 10 years. Everything else has been between like 3 and 7%.
So if the rent's a percentage of their income, if we get a raise, then the rent also goes up.
So it's the income level set by the state. So every April, they set the income levels that are considered for that county's area median income. So your rent is 30% of that area median income. If you're at 80 and you get a promotion or a raise and now you make 100% of the area median income, now you're a market rate. So property management handles our tenants and what happens with their rent increases and what happens when they're over income. But if you're not at the top already and you're at 50% AMI and you get a raise and now you're at 60, then I think they'll work with you to get the next available unit that's at 60% AMI. And most of our units are not tied. It's not like unit 101 is this rent level and unit 102 is this rent. It's just, we just move it around in the system. If the 60% unit comes available, we open that one for you, and then the 50% unit is available for the next person. So displacement is not in our strategy at all. So we try and work with everybody during those situations, but it's an annual verification. Yeah.
That tenant selection that we qualify is the first come first serve, and then other percentages for certain categories for seniors or for single family units, or how would that look now?
Yeah, so if you want to go back to my unit mix chart, I can just right there. We would.
Did I go
The
far?
other end, yeah.
Sorry.
Right here.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that.
So, as I said, the state sets the rent and the occupancy levels. So 1 bedroom could hold up to 3 people. So, that could be anybody. If you're working professionals, it could be a family with 1 kid. If you're a family with 2 kids, then you need a 2-bedroom. The 2 bedrooms here are 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and 2-bedroom, 2 bath. So if you're a family with 2 kids, you probably want the 2-bedroom, 2 bathroom. But the rents are the same regardless. It's just a type of unit that we offer. And so, depending on your occupancy kind of determines your unit. A placement, who they are, how old they are, how young they are, not our business. And then as far as the rents go, they're kind of determined by your total income. So if you have a husband that works full-time and you're a stay-at-home mom, then it's just the family income. So, there's definitely opportunities for people with kids to live here, but it could also just be single people. The fair housing laws sometimes prohibit kind of picking and choosing who gets priority. They want to have a fair, like a fair, I think it's called like affirmative marketing. or something like that, for housing marketing. So to the extent the law allows, we're gonna give priority to City of Fremont employees and City of Fremont residents. So, if we can do that, that's our priority. It is first come, first served. The lines on our lease up days are long. And, a lot of people come and not everybody qualifies. If you go to one more slide down. Yeah, actually, in a weird twist, the one person, 30% AMI is hard to fill. There's people on Social Security making more than this.
Oh, wow.
So, when we got a commitment from, the VA, they wanted 16 units for previously homeless veterans. We said, don't put them in here, they don't qualify. They get a check every month from the VA and they qualify at 50% AMI. They make 50,000 a year in their benefits. So we'll pay their rent for them, but you need to mark these units at 50% AMI. So that's kind of a weird thing that's also happening, is that these are hard to lease up. Who's making $30,000 a month? You know, because you have to have some income to pay your rent. You can't have no income, and then once you have some income, you're almost immediately over $30,000. So, yeah, there's no priority or choosing. It's as soon as the notice goes out, getting on that interest list, getting on that wait list. And you know, our property management team does this every day, so they're really familiar with it. I'm in acquisitions. I find the land, I try and beg for money. So they kind of do the other stuff.
I'm curious, as soon as you get the funding and you're able to start this project, you come in, over the counter, other like SB 30, or you need to sit in for the council and
so we will be applying under SB 330 to protect the streamlining of it. And the site is zoned by right. And we're near transit, so we get unlimited density. So we believe that we've ticked all the boxes. The pre-application that's gonna come back in 2 weeks will really tell us if we did or not, or things that we need to do to better comply with the general plan and use policies. But we believe that it should be a non-discretionary design review.
Good, so that's great. But you no longer have a 5-story element in your project?
So the, can you go back to the original layout? Maybe the one before, right there, yeah. So, the two facing Fremont Boulevard are 5 stories.
Okay,
The one on Peralta is 3 stories.
3-story.
Yeah, and so in our very, very initial conversation, they mentioned something about a train and some noise. And, we also get some better cost efficiencies on a smaller building when you do wood frame that's not fire treated. Fire treated lumber in the 5-story to give firemen more time to get up to the 5th floor, super expensive. So if we have a smaller building where they can just go up the 3-story, the lumber is like. So
The reason I'm asking the question about 5-story and SB 30 is whatever our focus is an organization, whether it's fed top or PMB, that is looking for statewide legislation to streamline affordable housing that takes away from the resistance that we have to go forward. So we have it over here, count all of these things. This is an example where it can. I'm also curious about if you know. I haven't understand, I believe I would understand, but I'd rather hear it from you. When you talk about notice of funding availability, when the city has the dollars to go out, do you know where the sources of those dollars come?
you don't know until you get your award and they kind of sift through their balance sheet. But most of it is fees paid by market rate developers. And so because those in lieu fees are from market rate developers and not the federal government, that's why we're able not to trigger prevailing wages. There's other funds that come from the federal government, CDBG funds, HUD sometimes has funds. There's other money out there that If you take the federal money, then it triggers prevailing wages. So once they kind of look and see your requests and see that you're not using Davis-Bacon prevailing wage, they kind of adjust the pools of money that they pull from to not trigger prevailing wage. But I would say predominantly it's the home fee. Sometimes it's a sales tax or a property tax or a transfer tax that happens, and that's voter indebtedness.
The reason I raise that is that there is a false dichotomy that we often hear from people that are running for office or in elected office saying, well, I support affordable housing, but I oppose market rate housing. This is an example where market rate housing is providing the starter funding that you need to jumpstart the economy.
That's correct.
Obviously, we did a lot more affordable housing, but it's not either or, it's the and.
Well, and if your fees are too high, then the market rate developers can't build their projects or pay the fee, and you get nothing.
Right.
And, but what we always work with our home builders, like on New York Station, is trying to pull out the affordable units where Life Steps can come in and provide resident services. Just providing a place to lay your head is not what we do. So we try and uplift them, give them services, provide access to fresh food. We try and give them, you know, a fitness center and give them, you know, a teacher that'll come in and say, this is how you use this equipment. Where do you want to be? How can I help get you there? Maybe you need assistance from the VA. Can we get the VA rep in here and help you and get transit passes? And what do you qualify for at your income level? What services? So doing the integrated development when you have a large number of affordable doesn't really make a ton of sense for that resident, you know. So that's why we will try and often partner with home builders or market rate builders and say, let us build a little corner for you where we can provide the services for our residents.
One question I wanted to dig in on your point about the prevailing wage. Like in general, I think it's important that construction workers get paid enough, and if they're not getting paid the prevailing wage, does that mean that they're not going to be able to afford to live in this area? Or can you get into the kind of details of what that means?
Yeah, it is. It's a push and pull. So we are open shop. So you could be a union shop, and if you provide a competitive bid, you're hired. So it's not that we discourage that. It's that when the requirement is forced upon you, then you're forced to go to new subs that you haven't worked with before that are, you know, going to charge a prevailing wage requirement, which comes with a ton of paperwork and reporting and compliance. And if you have some subs that are open shop and some subs that are being paid prevailing wages because Davis-Bacon's only on certain trades, then you have these guys that are like making way different hourly rates on site, and it causes a lot of tension on the site. So it's better to have it open shop. Let us hire the union shops that we want, and they have a competitive bid, than them knowing, oh, that trade's coming in, their prevailing wages, they're making 3 times what I'm making today, and having that heat on site. So like, we actually will structure them not to be on site because of that, because of the arguments that happen. And so it's not that we won't use them and we don't pay them a fair wage. It's a competitive bid. So if everybody's bidding the same, we do a competitive bidding process. But when you force that requirement into a PLA or a prevailing wage, it only affects certain trades, and it gets a little hard to manage on site. So you know, if we did it, my cost would go probably to 110 or 120 million. My ask, instead of 10 or 12 or 13 million, will double. So then the efficiency and the use of the resources, it pretty much prohibits the development. So that's some of the issues the state is seeing, that they're super oversubscribed on the forced prevailing wage funding. So they have ASIC, they have infill infrastructure grant, they have multifamily housing programs through HCD, all those trigger prevailing wages, all oversubscribed, and a huge amount of subsidy is needed. Every application is asking for $20–30 million for each development, and we're talking about 150 units. you know, so. I don't know, yes, those resources are out there and everybody should try and get paid a fair wage, but I don't know that it should be forced upon development for a contractual agreement for the money. I can't.
Question, it's more of a, how you posture and you know about it too, but I'd like to raise it again, which is the notion that we just adopted our 8-year housing cycle. We got approved relatively seamlessly by the housing. We were very actively involved in but there's certain assumptions that were built in terms of where the sites would be that we get our DMR units for going extremely low. If you can take, if your project gets filled out, it'd be nice if staff could work with you and saying, this changes our assumptions, so we're gonna be able to hit this part of the bus. Because all they could do is take the facility on stage and tell them, which was minimal.
Yeah.
Very few for it, now you're doubling it as all of it. That could be a game changer, really front-loading or.
I highlighted that in my funding application.
Oh, good.
I said, you know, you guys had X amount of affordable units on your original project. I'm doing 312. So, you know, as far as meeting your RENA goals, you just blew that out of the water in one project. So I tried pointing it out to them, and hopefully they're reading through it now. It was a big box of documents that I supplied. Dangerous crowd.
Right, does anybody else have any other questions or?
Wonderful.
No, all right, well, thank you so much, Leanne. That was fantastic. Really was, I feel so much smarter. All right, well, we're just gonna go straight to a couple.
Larry's been through this again, is there anything else there on Zoom?
Larry, questions? All right,
Coming back.
yeah. Oh, man, all right. Well, we're just gonna give a couple announcements now and then probably close things out. So Lisa, please come on up and give us some of the announcements.
Okay, let me pop over to my agenda, here we go. So you all have probably figured out we were gonna have our second guest speaker on the housing bond. She unfortunately had a plumbing emergency and couldn't make it, but the silver linings, we got to have all this wonderful time with Leanne.
Yes.
So that definitely worked out. And then, yeah, I put this here both so you can see it as like another cheat sheet. So the main thing is just, we got a lot of policy committee related things that are hot right now. So some of them are taking positions on what we just heard, as well as the housing bond that we'll be learning more about, so that we can have, because you know, we don't take any official position here at Fremont Boulevard without a vote of our members. That's how we've done our bylaws. So that's, you know, if we want to have sort of an official, you know, support, then that would be something we vote on. And also, as many of you know, the Fremont Homelessness Response Plan is in progress, and we have a meeting scheduled this Sunday at 3 p.m. Which you're all welcome to join if you want. I think I sent emails to the people who have previously expressed interest in being on the policy committee. And if you didn't get that and you want to join, I'm happy to share the info with you. So we'll be just kind of having a preliminary conversation there about what we want to put in sort of a position letter from Fremont. And then another thing that I'm not sure how many people have shared this with yet, California YIMBY is putting together a policy framework that will guide their long-term vision for what types of policies they're going to be pushing for over the next several years. And they're at the stage where they have a draft and they're collecting input from allies and stakeholders like us. So it's a great opportunity to kind of, I guess it's like an analogy to the primary in an election or something. It's our opportunity to get it on the ground floor instead of just getting a list of bills and taking positions on them, but to say like, this is the direction that we want the state to go. So I think if folks have the energy, there's a lot that we can engage on right now. this one, there's a draft that we can read. I was almost thinking we could do it kind of like a book club, if you all are up for it, that we kind of read it and then we come together and discuss it and see what input we want to give. So this isn't anything too concrete except for the meeting coming up on this one. I think we probably need to schedule meetings for the other ones to have those conversations. Which, if you all want, we can compare the calendars right now, or we could wait for this meeting where I think that'll be more of like people who are really interested in politics stuff. Does anybody have ideas or preferences? Okay, sounds good. So now you've got it primed in your head. Pardon?
So we have our calendars in front of us.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. And then, yeah.
Yep, all right. Thank you, Lisa. So we got a little bit of time. We're gonna do open mic. Oh,
I do
Sandra.
have a question, the other speaker that, I was hoping to hear about, is there opportunity, to discuss that or just, brief our people about that?
Yeah,
Since she's not here.
yeah, we're low on time, but I did pull up the presentation. If you want me to just page through it real quick, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, we got about 12 minutes. If you can do a quick presentation. Yeah.
Just pop over to.
Leanne, did you want some pizza?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we got tons. The
uh,
pepperoni's already been, we got into a little bit. Pepperoni.
so this slideshow
Cheese,
is,
one, a couple veggies
how do
left.
I do this? It's from no, it's actually not from our. So, yeah, there's like a couple of versions involved. So their Housing Finance Authority is a government agency. They're part of ABAG, right? Yeah, part of ABAG. And
Yeah,
They
the
would
cheese,
be
the sauce
kind of-
kind of
it's
counteracts,
just
but
during the bond.
I won't tell you that.
Let me take a step back. Is everybody familiar with the housing bond? Like that there might be a housing bond in the next few years. That's what this.
Vaguely, yeah, vaguely.
So, yeah, if we're lucky, there might be a housing bond on the 2024 ballot. And so we've gotten in touch, Fremont Boulevard has gotten in touch with EBCO, East Bay Housing Organization, which is where our guest speaker who last minute couldn't make it is from. They would be the ones, or they will be the ones running the campaign for the ballot measure. Whereas the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority is more like the government agency who would be involved. So I guess this is like, you can't have the government agency running a campaign.
Right.
There's like a distinction there, so that's why there's separate agencies. So this presentation is freely available online on the government website, and I pulled it up because I had access to it. I don't have the presentation that Angelina was gonna show us, but I figured this has some good background on what the bond would be. And then I think the conversation with Angelina will be more about how it came on for everyone supported. And, or, will be supported and what we can do. So, does that make sense, just laying the groundwork?
Sure.
Cool.
You have another, you have to press your own PowerPoint.
Oh, you wanna put the down arrow?
I don't know if I can push the down arrow, that's kind of hard. Yeah.
Bring it back.
Right,
Oh, good. Okay, so probably not gonna go. Well, so the affordable housing challenge, I feel like I don't need to explain to everybody here that we need more money for affordable housing in the state of California. I feel like
do,
everybody in this room is already bought into that. And that we have a housing crisis, so we'll sort of skip over that because we're short on time. I don't even know what the poll is. This isn't my slideshow, sorry.
depending on what poll it is.
How about I just pop through a few of them, is that okay?
No,
Okay, why are we here? Yeah, so we need more housing.
poll right in the middle.
We all know this, we have a shortage of affordable housing. Not having enough housing is bad, we know this, like, it's
Very
really
bad.
important, but I don't think I need to convince anybody here. And, okay, so this part, the regional role, part of why they're excited about doing this regionally is because,
Nice moves.
You
That
know,
you're
the
crossing
city
that.
level,
Yeah.
one city can say like, oh, why am I having to put all the affordable housing, they should do it, but if you do it at the regional level, it gets a little more obvious that we all need to be moving forward. And,
You want me to push it? You can
Yeah.
say Jenna push,
sure, sorry, go ahead.
trained monkey here.
Okay, next.
Alright, yeah, yeah, next.
So what- So this, oh yeah, so the.
Right turn play.
Yeah. They're, yeah, they're formed ABAG, but they were formed. Sorry? But I think they're from like 2019. They're really quite recent.
Yeah,
And, yeah, you feel free to help me out, you're an expert on this.
yeah, we had a, they had a group discussion. Like how they do consumer, surveys, they had a group of us, a diverse group, to ask us about our feelings about the bond basically. And so that was good and informative.
So since we're short on time, I'm gonna jump through, what do we have?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So.
Keep going.
affordable housing, yeah, let's keep going.
Questions?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so here we go. So there's a couple of possibilities of what's gonna be on the 2024 ballot, and they're currently like doing polling so that they can figure out what they think they can pass. One possibility is no housing. Hopefully that's.
Rude.
Right? One possibility is
Boo.
a $10 billion bond, and another possibility is a $20 billion bond. And
20.
because this is regional, with that, like, that's 9 counties, so spread out over everybody on the county. That's saying if your home is assessed at $1 million, then your property tax bill is gonna go up on the order of like $90 to $100 per year. So like, if you can afford $1 million home, if you can pay an extra $90 per year so that we can build affordable housing, in my personal opinion. Right, so, anyway, I'm totally like editorializing here, but it's, you all know I like affordable housing. I'm sorry, I can't stop.
Well, I mean, I agree with your editorializing, so you're fine.
Okay, so general obligation bond,
Want me to
do
go?
folks want that background, or should we skip past this to the, like, what would they do with the bond? We've opened these
You know
everywhere.
what they are.
Yeah,
What are they voting on? You know?
so we would be voting
No,
on what?
I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. The people in the picture.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, so now this is the actual unique part about the bond, is it the
What's that?
map of like how.
I know.
the money is distributed. So, and it's of course a different number, if it's a $20 billion bond or a $10 billion bond, that are you gonna get quite much, it's a $20 billion. So this shows it broken down by county. The breakdown is kind of, so, oh yeah, Alameda County would get 1.4 billion or 2.8 billion. Oh,
So half is what Senator Farrell was there.
It's already based upon the affordability of the property, it's there is part of it is.
yeah,
I mean, our population.
right, so.
I say, don't question it. If we get more money, we get more money.
Yeah, I think it's population and like, there's definitely some counties, I think part of it's actually based on the data. How many people live in Florida.
Okay.
So, sorry, I'm not super expert on this, but this, let's go to the next. Okay, so here's how they're gonna break down the, like, the percentage of the money within the. So there's, oh yeah, okay, there's 2 things on here, there's the regional program and there's the cities and counties, so. The cities and counties have a bigger chunk that it gets distributed based on like the city or the county, and they're gonna get this piece of the pie, and then there's also this regional fund. And the idea is to kind of create balance so that at the regional level, they can make some decisions about what projects get funded. And so you don't end up with like weird little effects if, you know, this city doesn't have quite enough and this has more than they need. But also the cities are gonna get their own allocation, so, and the counties. I think the counties are gonna get mostly county allocations that they get to decide at the county level how to allocate, and then there's a few big cities like Oakland and San Jose that get like a city allocation. And then within that, it's broken down into the 3 Ps are like the big ones: production, preservation, and protection. So production is the biggest drum because as we just saw, building housing is super expensive. So that's why production is like 52% of both of these. So does that make sense so far?
Sure.
Okay, next. And then the next one, preservation. So this is basically housing that's already affordable. Let's make sure it stays on the market and doesn't get, you know, torn down or switched to market rate. Next. protection. This one has a big asterisk because right now it's not legal in California to use bond money for tenant protection. So there's a chunk of money set aside for tenant protection if those laws can be changed so they are allowed to use it for that purpose. And if they are not changed for that purpose, then this money would kind of go into more of a general pocket. Yeah, yeah. Okay, next. And then flexible, so this is for basically to give some flexibility because these exact breakdowns, like you could use it on any of these things. Could also use it for, I think housing related uses can include things like parks, like things that make housing livable. Yeah. Go to the next one. I don't know anything else to say about this. And then, oh yeah, local government incentive grants for. Oh, this is, oh, never mind, this is more about parks, my bad. I think this is something that, like, local governments can basically, what it says, right, like it lets them make grants that are contingent upon somebody doing something good, like building affordable housing. So it just sort of gives them a funding stream to be able to dangle carrots in front of them and make them do good things. Is my take. Oh, yeah, I guess so. What's up?
So I was thinking of something.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's go. Okay, what's next? All right, we're like almost out of time, right? Is this useful? Is this what you all were looking for?
Yeah.
Now this is getting past what I actually know. Anyway, I'll let you read it.
Give everybody 30 seconds to read it. Just kidding. You speed read.
Transparency, oversight, yeah, good stuff. We move on.
So once that expenditure fund, or, you know, submitted.
Blah, blah, blah.
BASA. Then, never mind. He's not here to answer me.
All right, well, I'm moving on.
Yeah, so basically trying to get more housing that's more affordable that you could actually have be sustainable financially and environmentally. Because right now it's too expensive to build housing and we don't know. So, yeah.
Very true.
Okay, oh yeah, this part's interesting. What's gonna be the expected impact? So this is, if there's no bond, we still expect some housing to be built because, you know, we're already have projects in the pipeline. But you can basically like get a bigger chunk of affordable housing depending on how much you invest with the bond. So you can get, you know, I guess about 40,000 more units if we do the $10 billion bond, and 80,000 more units if we do the $20 billion bond. So that's a lot of people to get housed if we are willing to have $1 million homeowners pay an extra $90 a year.
Think they can afford that.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Might be tough for them, but
Okay, questions. Fine.
poll,
I don't know.
back to the poll.
Okay, what's next? So yeah, outreach. There have been actually a lot of opportunities for outreach. I think we talked about some of these on the Facebook group. And there's still more coming up. I went to the one in Pleasanton that was supposedly for both our city council district and District 4. But they were like talking about the Tri-Valley as if I wasn't there. I was like, what? I asked them and they said supposedly they're gonna have one in our area in January and they're trying to make it happen. So stay tuned for that. Anybody who hears about it, feel free to signal boost it on the Facebook.
Yeah, at least I got more bed, District 2, which wouldn't be more Fremont, but it was also.
Yeah, so they're going around and there is a survey actually. I think I shared the link at least on the chat on Facebook. I don't know if anybody saw that. Y'all can bug me to share it again if you want, because it is an opportunity to get written input even before they come to our area. So yeah, they're taking public input. What else is in this slideshow? That's it.
Oh, thank you. Yay. Lisa, open mic or you just?
Up to you. I don't know. What do folks think? We're at our normal time. But did anyone else have announcements or whatever?
I was saying, did anybody want to add something or have something they feel they need to share.
Well, I'm just curious, who would we expect as the opposition to this project?
Well, there's people who oppose
Anyone who opposes any kind of.
I think that's what, I think who oppose it.
Yeah.
NBs?
So it's not arousing, a new group.
Well, you never know.
That's a good question that I don't know the answer actually, so I shouldn't think quick on that.
They always tend to evolve.
You're right.
Let's have to get organized more around the need.
Well, yeah.
Around.
Well, yeah. In that case, just want to thank Leanne again. Thank you very much. Fantastic presentation. Loved it. And see you next month on Zoom. You're all free to go.
And this will be recorded too. We'll make it available.
This one? Oh, yeah, it's being recorded.
Good.
We kept it on you the whole time.